Welcome back to the Let's Talk Vibes podcast, where we speak soul contracts, illuminating your path to higher understanding. I'm your host, Lauren.
And I'm Yiannah.
And this week we are doing another deep dive episode with fellow soul contract practitioner, Antonia. Welcome, Antonia.
Thank you. It's such a joy to be here. Very, very exciting.
We're so
This
happy to have you because I think like anyone who knows, like doing the trainings and you're part of the Center of Consciousness.
Center for
Conscious
Conscious
Ascension.
Ascension.
Thank you. And you're always the warm welcome that people receive when they're doing the trainings or reaching out for anything. And you totally like embody that soft love and like the sound of your voice. Like you're just that sweetness. So like what a perfect way for people to be introduced to that work by hearing and seeing you first. I mean, it's beautiful. I love it.
Oh, it's good timing. It's good serendipity.
Yeah.
And when I was doing the training, the number that we're going to talk about today, 12-3, was the example that I was used in the training for people to get an understanding of it. So it's works well.
Yeah. Now, obviously, we're here to talk about the 12-3 today, but I'm just curious because, listeners will have recently heard a few weeks ago about the 13-4. We had Almarinda on to discuss that number. And I feel like you both have that similar soft, gentle energy. Part of it is just like the soothingness of your voice. So I'm curious if you have a 13-4 in your chart as well.
I actually don't. I don't have any 13-4s, but in my optimized name, Antonya Catalinah Beamish, I do have a 13-4 in there. And it's an energy, I
Oh.
see it as more of a mature 12-3, like a bit more wise, a bit more feminine, a bit more embodied, a bit more wisdom. And a
Calmed
12,
down.
yeah, 12-3 is a little like a dumbed down version. They're a little bit more impatient, a little bit more coming into their worthiness. But they're so similar. Yeah, they're slightly different.
Okay, interesting. Well, without further ado, let's really hop into this number. It's one that you and I really both have centrally in our chart. I have it as my soul destiny. Remind us where you have that.
Yeah, so I have it in my physical talents and in my soul destiny as well. So a double whammy. And as we know, when you got, you know, double the amount, the same numbers showing up, your soul's telling you something.
Yeah. And with some numbers, that might be nice, right? Sometimes it might be nice to have like two sets of eights. You have this like extra grounding. But with the 12-3, that's actually one where that can easily be overwhelming because the 12-3, it's all about expansion and growth, but it's like this continuous expansion. The 12-3 never wants to sit down. So we often see it as this energy that's very rush, 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 do everything now, 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 doesn't know how to rest. So it can really easily lead to burnout. So this is one of those numbers that when you do have that double dose, it's like, oh, wow,
Mm.
it can be a lot. So
Yeah,
talk
there's
to us about
definitely,
that.
yeah, there's some numbers in a soul contract system, which when you have them showing up repeatedly, it's like an intense whammy. Like the 14-5 is an intense number. When you've got two of them in your chart, oof,
Yeah.
fives, very
9-9.
ungrounded. Nines, I've got lots of eights, lots of fives, lots of sevens. And yeah, the 12-3s as well. So I tend to get the same numbers showing up in my birth name, my common name. But yeah, the 12-3 is just, it's got such a soul drive, and I cannot rest where I am. I'm always seeking and wanting to expand and explore, and it's tiring. And I often don't know my limits and burnout. In my 20s, when I worked in London, wasn't really a corporate job. I worked for a boutique fitness company with studios around London. I used to run around and do everything. I think you become a jack of all trades because you're always getting your fingers in all the pies, and your three is always trying to prove yourself because it's always about self-worth. So you have this push from your soul and you have this push from your ego, and together it creates this double expansive drive, and it's pretty tiring. Like I love it, but it's one is enough, but two, oof, no.
Well, that 12-3, right? Like the 12, it wants to do everything and try everything and be a part of everything. Huge FOMO energy, right? Like I
Yes.
have to be a part of this. I have to experience it because I may miss out. And it's like, I don't have it in my birth name, but I do have it in a bunch of my common names. except my optimized name, because of course Nicholas would never allow that.
Never.
And like I see it, it's like it's just constantly doing. But I will say, for me, when the doing is something that is fills my soul and it gives me so much joy and I feel like I'm accomplishing and achieving, I don't mind it. But when it's
Mm,
something like I'm always doing, but I feel like I'm stuck, or I'm always doing and I feel like I'm getting nowhere, then I'm like, what the heck? Right. And that leads out to that burnout. I don't want to do this
mm,
anymore. And I've noticed that personally and professionally for me. And it completely reflects like how my life turns out, the moves that happen, because it's like you got to come that 3. It wants you to have that joy. It wants you to come from that place of like, what's fulfilling you?
yeah.
And so it's very like telling for me. I'm like, okay, I'm loving this rush doing because it's feeding my soul. That joy is
Yes.
like at the surface. And I'm like, I don't care. I wake up and I'll do it all day long and I'll sleep and I'm probably doing it in my sleep too. You know, it's constant.
Oh God, yeah, my dreams are intense. I'm constantly processing all the time on the astral plane. Like, and yeah, I think people with 12 threes always have to-do lists. They always have projects that they want to do. They can't really sit still. And like in my career, I've always jumped and moved around and changed. But I've also got 8s in some karma as well in my birth name and my common name, and 8s can be quite unsettled and ungrounded. And I've got 5s as well. They're both very ungrounded numbers. But what's interesting, as you said, Yiannah, the 3s have a huge amount of deep soul knowledge, which they're here to share with the world. And so it's a real joy when you're actually sharing that out there. It's very fulfilling, very joyful. And I think, as we know, the trick with the 12-3 is to do it in a very balanced, healthy way, because otherwise that
Mhm.
expansion, yeah, it completely burns you out because you've got such a drive. And I think if you have a 12-3 in a soul destiny, Lauren, you're the same as me here, like the only thing they say in the description of that is you always are late. You're always feeling like you're running out of time, which is a huge problem with my ego. I'm always like, I don't have enough time to do everything. I can't sit down. I can't relax. I can't stop. But we're really here to embody as much deep soul knowledge as we can. So there is always this race against time. Like we've got to get it out there before it's too late. And it can be very tiring. I'm in a constant state of tiredness, which is, you know, hilarious because it's not like I'm really burning myself out physically, but I'm thinking and I'm planning and I'm doing, it's a bit deeper than just like, oh, I'm busy because I've got to do all these different things. I have to do them. It's a drive. It's a don't want to sit down. As you said, I've got a mission to do and I'm here to fulfill it. And I want to do it. That's the key. I
Yeah.
want to do it. I'm like a little child. I'm like, give me more. I want to do it now. So yeah.
Well, like for me, it's one of those things where it's like, I could spend all day on the couch, but my mind was going, turning. And so it's like I'm still mentally exhausted from all the mental work that I did, even though, physically I just like laid on the couch. But it's like the brain, it's so hard to turn off. Like, I don't know if you struggle at all with insomnia. Like, I can sometimes really struggle to fall asleep at night because my brain will not turn off, and I'll be like
Mhm.
almost crying of like, I am so exhausted, I need to sleep, and the brain is like, go 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 go. Do you ever
Oh,
experience that as well?
no, I'm really, really lucky. I sleep really deeply and easily, but my dreams are
Jealous.
wild. I
Mhm.
mean, I can often wake up exhausted because I think I've been doing all these crazy things in my sleep. But they are ob, ob, not obscene. They are extreme, extreme dreams, very deep, very real. So it's almost like the opposite. Don't worry, Lauren. I wake up and I'm tired. But yeah, I don't have the insomnia side, so I'm very lucky.
Yeah, no, it's a lot. Well, honestly, as challenging as this number can be, and it is certainly one that does challenge me, it is also one of my favorite numbers because it is such a beautiful energy. The 12, it represents Libra, right? It has this this energy that is very much about balance. So that's, you mentioned that already. And so it's like for those of us who do have that as our soul destiny, and wherever you have it in your chart, balance is going to be important. But I really see then that my life purpose is around finding balance. So
Yeah.
it helps me sometimes to give myself grace when I feel like things are out of balance, because it's like, okay, you weren't meant to start there, you're meant to find it. And give yourself
Yes.
that grace that it takes some work and it's not always easy, because it's not.
I have post-it notes all over my flat being like, be gentle with yourself in this time of
Mm.
change. Be calm, be gentle, because it's very easy to berate yourself when you feel like you haven't done enough. And the
Yes.
12 threes never feel like they've done enough and they have to work harder, they have to do more. And actually, at this time, especially when you study this work and you're helping others understand their charts, it's a deeply transformative process, not just for yourself, but also, well, yes, for yourself and in your life. And all of that transition and change can be so destabilizing and so exhausting. And it takes you a long time to really catch up with where your spirit is going. So yeah, I have to have lots of reminders being like, oh my gosh, take it easy on yourself. But I forget and I'm like, should have done more.
Yeah. It's interesting to that point. Nicholas, our teacher that we mention all the time, right? He once said to me, because I was talking about, you know, for my business and not feeling like I'm doing enough to get it done. He's like, realistically, because you have a 12-3, if you do 30 to 40% of what you think you should do, that is enough. And I was like, oh wow, okay. That is a very new scale. I was like, oh,
Yes.
okay. I'm trying to do too much, and actually I'm already doing enough by getting less than half of what I think I should do done. That was very
So
liberating
true.
and validating, I have to say.
So true. And Yiannah, as you said, if you're doing the thing that gives you joy, joy is such a driver for you to get stuff done because it's so deeply fulfilling for your soul. And I think with the three in particular, you're here to really share your gifts. And I love it. You know, if you've got a goal or a talent in a three, it's all about sharing yourself with the world. And it's so beautiful. It's very similar to four, like the 13-4, the 12-3, sharing yourself and your talents with the world. And I think threes are actually not like tooting my own horn, but we can be quite talented. People with this number can be very talented in all sorts of different areas, especially vocally, and speaking and singing and creatively. So it's a very like, it's a beautiful energy. I don't know why I was going down that path, but I can't remember what I said, but it's a very beautiful energy. Very, very
Listen,
beautiful.
as somebody who has 3-3 in both talent positions of my birth name, I like thrive in that space. First of all, for me, it's like sharing. When I share with people, it really does come from like the depths of my soul. And it's like I feel it. And I'm like, oh my God, I learned or I experimented or I experienced something. And I have to tell everybody.
Mm,
And I also say, like in my work, when I'm with clients, when they ask, well, how can I break through something? Or when I give recommendation, it's always something that has worked for me. I know, like I share because I'm like, I know how the result of this, so I can share it with other people because I know how it feels and the movement that it can create within you. But also the threes, they connect to music so much. Now, I'll say this. I'm no like Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion, but I sing like I am Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Celine Dion. I don't care who's listening because I connect so much with the lyrics, the
mm.
sound, everything. It like literally like grabs my soul. And I'm like, I feel this. And I'll tell people, don't you just feel this song so much? And they're like, yeah, it's a good song. And I'm like, no, no, no. You don't feel it in your bones, right?
Yes. I get that 100%. Music moves me. It
Yes.
absolutely moves through me. And so funny, my boyfriend is a musician. He is extremely talented. He's got a 12-3, he's got a 21-3. I think he
Mm.
has another something 12-3 somewhere, but we've got like a little bit of a lock between us, between my talents and his karma, which makes us a really good match. But he's a very talented musician in singing and guitars and making music. And since I've been with him, he has brought my threes out of hiding because threes are
Mm.
very shy. So when I was younger, I used to be a real performer. I used to do dances in front of my parents. I was Maria in the school play from The Sound of Music. I had singing lessons. And then I think I lost my confidence a little bit. I went to a very big secondary school with a lot of talented people. And I think my threes went into hiding and they're only just coming out. So now I sing and I rap all the time with him. Like we were sat in a pub the night before last, just in the garden, and I came up with a lyric and we just made a song about it. Like, um, oh, I can't even remember what it was. It was something like "You should have remembered it," and we made the song like "You should have remembered it," and we were just singing. And it's so fun. I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from within me, but all these lyrics just spill out and all this music stuff. So he's really brought it out of me. So the power of someone else's numbers to deeply engage with your energies, which is why we do these relationship readings, because a birth reading is powerful, but a relationship reading to understand the energy dynamics between you and these other people is amazing. And also, I just remember my mum has a 12-3 and her talent's in the exact same position. So we both kind of play off with each other in a massive way.
I love that because, you know, the threes, they need to express. They're here to express themselves, either verbally or through writing. And it's this beautiful creative energy. But it's like, it's almost like if I don't get to express the thing I need to say, I may just emotionally explode. The volcano is going to erupt. I have to share it. And it's just like so. I think once you realize, okay, that's my three, okay, that's within me, you're able to manage that a little bit better because sometimes it can come out so fast and so abrupt, and people are like, okay, like calm down, or like, why
Yeah.
are you so sensitive or whatever about this? And that's also my fives. But I'm like, no, I just need to like get that. I have to share it. Even if I know by sharing it, it can cause a situation I don't want to be in, or it could turn someone off or turn somebody away. I still have to express how I'm feeling
Yeah.
because it's about getting it out. And like you said, it's not about being shy and bearing your feelings. You got to get it out. You got to get it out.
And it's like dynamic between the fives as well. Because I've got I've got 5 5s in both my birth and common name. Oh, it's heavy. So telling the truth, and they're all 4 5s are in all my karmas, in my physical karma, and my birth and common name. So people who are listening, that's like a double whammy of fives. So it's, and Lauren, I know you got fives as well. I'm sure. Do you know our
N-
fives? I can't remember.
Not really. I have it in the
Ah,
letters of my name, and it's actually interesting. So, like in my first and middle name, Lauren Rose, that's where I have fives. I have a lot of
mm,
fives, but it's not really like a dominant chart, you know? It's like
yeah.
I feel like it's there enough, and some very close people in my life will call me that, but it's not really like how I'm known to the world. But I don't know, maybe a little bit more now with this optimized name where Rose is almost acting like my last name. We'll see if
Mm.
that, I feel like it's coming up. Anyway, well, this is not about the fives.
Yeah, no, but the fives and the threes, I think, work really interestingly together because the fives have to tell the truth and they are real communicators, and their speech is their strength. And the same with threes, they communicate. So I've got fives, lots of 5 and 3 energy. So I have to, my form of communication is writing. Like I've always had a blog. Maybe from like 9 years ago, I started my first fitness blog, and then I changed. I started writing in 2020. So I have a big blog on my website. I've got like maybe over 120 posts on there now. So I'm slowly building it up.
Beautiful.
And yeah, I have to share. I'm just like, oof, I had this awful situation with boundaries. I'm gonna have to talk about it. I had this awful rejection the other day. I felt like a failure. I have to talk about it because I have to get it out of me. Like it's almost my therapy. It's very what's the word? It's very, yeah, soothing for me. Really helps me express myself.
Now I have a question. Well, this
Mm.
goes for everybody with the three energy, part of your 12 threes. My favorite part to talk about, that sexual, sensual sign.
Mm.
And I will say it's one of those where, like, for me, with all my three energies and now, like, all the common name 12 threes, stepping into that, tapping into that feminine, sensual side of me, I will say has absolutely changed my life in a very beautiful, abundant, loving manner. And the threes really want you to tap into that sexuality and sensuality of who you are. And that really is, it's really embodying and connecting with the creator. It's this like beautiful, intimate relationship with the creator. And it's like you start co-creating. So have either of you felt that, experienced it? Like, where are you? How does that show up for you guys?
Yeah, that's such a good question. Lauren, what do you think?
Well, for me, because like when you have threes in karma, like you can really have a lot of blocked sexuality. And that's how it is for me. Like I haven't tapped into that at all in a big way. Like that has been something that has been majorly blocked in my life. I would almost say not based off of anything I've experienced. Like there's no trauma or abuse, but like almost internalized fear that I think maybe comes from past lives, from ancestral things. Like it's not anything that has happened to me other than what you pick up as being a woman in this society, and you know that it has happened to people around you. You know that potential exists. And so that fear is so ingrained. And that is what I've had to work through. Just coming to a place of being comfortable, let alone like embracing is a whole other step. Like I've got to unlock a door that comes before that door that you're talking about.
Yeah, really interesting, Lauren, and so beautifully honest as well. Like I'm very similar actually. I swing between feeling very sexual and sensual and feminine to being very much the opposite. And it's like I don't have time for that. I don't prioritize that. And actually, when I was younger, I don't think I had very healthy sexual relations because I was deep in my threes, which can be really about unworthiness. And, I'll share, I didn't have a serious relationship until I was 27 years old. And I went to see a kinesiologist, which is how I got into kinesiology. So this was the therapy that I trained in and what I've been doing for the past 5 years. And now I do the soul contract reading and divine healing. But kinesiology basically gets to the root cause of symptoms, especially the emotional root cause. It's a very beautiful therapy. So I had some kinesiology because I was burnt out from my 12 threes working in my job in London. And the second session I had with this wonderful lady called Kim, I said to her, look, I've got this problem and I feel really safe to share it with you. I've never been in love and I think there's something really wrong with me. Like there's definitely something wrong with me. I cover it up with a smile. I'm always like single girl and my friends telling funny stories of that happened to me and this happened to me and boys, blah, 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 blah. But, underneath there was such a deep, deep unworthiness. She made me say all these affirmations. And one of the most powerful ones was, I am worthy of love. And as I said it, I had this huge emotional breakdown. And this huge thing came through and out of my body in a mass of tears. And then I started laughing. When you've had an emotional release, it's a very powerful shift in your body. And it was only a few weeks later that I ended up meeting Chris, my first boyfriend, who I was with for 3 years. And it was a beautiful, loving, gentle relationship. So that really changed my complete relationship with men from that point. But God, three's a work in progress. So I love that you're there, Yiannah.
Well, here's what I want to say. And look, all of my threes are in talent position, okay? But when somebody asks me, where's your self-worth? I always felt worthy. On a conscious level, I always felt worthy. And then I had a beautiful divine healing session with Lauren Calvert. And one of the questions that came up is, when I say self-worth, what does that mean to you? And I was opening my mouth to say, I am worthy. And before I can get the words out, I just started crying. And I was like, wait a minute. Consciously, there's no need to cry because I'm worthy of everything in my life. Subconsciously, there was something that needed to be worked through. And so I'm talking through this with Lauren, and she goes, look, just because you have your threes and your talents and consciously you feel okay, there's still stuff that you bring with you. There's still stuff you carry that we don't even realize is a block for us. It's a sabotaging behavior. It's all these things that keep us limited. And so through that divine healing session and then really understanding, okay, this is something that I don't want it to be a block, because when we feel unworthy, right, we're telling the universe we're not in a position to receive.
Mm.
We don't feel worthy for love because we don't give ourselves love. Okay, that's what it is. You're empty in yourself, so then the universe is like, well, I give you what you give me, and if you can't give love, how can I be able to give it to you? When that like switch went off in my brain and I connected those dots, I was like, okay, I need to pour attention into that. And total TMI, but I started, it's called spirit dancing. Do you know what
Sounds
that is?
amazing.
No.
Okay.
Tell
Literally, I
us.
encourage anyone listening who may resonate with this, get on YouTube and just type in like sensual music. And it's just about listening to music that you feel it in your body and just start moving and creating that movement in your body. You do start to tap into that feminine, sensual side of you. And I will say, like, I think like 3 days later, I was moving in ways that I never thought I'd be able to move. And I noticed this energetic shift happening where it's like you walk by that mirror and you're like, I am worthy. I am loved. I am beautiful. I am gorgeous. I am everything. And at first you don't believe it. And then you do it enough, you put enough focus on it, and you walk by the mirror, you're like, you don't even have to say it because you already know it. You know, it's like tapping into that. And that doesn't mean that you do it one time and you're done, you're cured forever. That's not what that means. What it means is it's the practice of tapping into that beautiful side of you, which is really your co-creation with the universe.
Mm.
The threes, you're co-creating. So are the sixes. So are many energies, frequencies in the soul contract work. But when you're tapping into that, you will absolutely feel that connection. And like, it's like you're being birthed with possibilities and ideas and creativity, and it will start showing up in your life. And I know for me personally, that was something that shifted the trajectory and my immediate future in my life. Absolutely. So yes, I have no shame to say that I spirit dance.
Oh,
And I
so
encourage people. I do. I always encourage people, try it. Just try it. Just move your body. Move it. That's how you're creating. You're letting go and you're just moving. It's a beautiful thing.
think I did something very similar last year. I started conscious dancing every Friday night for 2 hours. It's a big group of
Oh,
people. It's like 60 people in a room. It's completely sober. There's a DJ, beautiful lighting, and it's called Five Rhythms in the UK. And it's like you have five different styles of dance, and you're supposed to really move with the music. And as someone who'd never danced, hadn't danced for a long time, let alone in public, let alone sober, because I stopped drinking about 4 years ago. I was petrified because threes are also very shy. Like, we don't want to come out of hiding. I can be a massive hermit. I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to engage with people. And I started going to this dance every Friday and I met lots of people. And I came into my femininity through dancing. I wore skirts, I moved my hips. I really felt the flow of the music, and it was a beautiful experience. And it's also very good for sevens. I have a lot of seven energy. It unlocks rigidity in the body. And as you said, it kind of opens you up. And through that sensuality, I think I was coming into, that's at that time last summer when I met the beautiful man that I'm with now. And I wouldn't have met him, I don't think, if I'd not come out of hiding and started feeling my body and moving with it, because it's also about unblocking that a little bit of numbness as well inside of us that can kind of get locked away like a bit of an ice cavern. You have to like thaw it out and let stuff come up. And yeah. Yiannah, the other thing I was going to say with them, you're talking about, the worthiness and abundance and receiving. It's so in tune with financial abundance as well,
yes.
because God, if you don't love yourself, you cannot receive. And I know people with threes can be really financially challenged with money. So Lauren, I don't know what your experience is of that. The fun financial side of the threes.
It's so, it's so interesting because, I am someone who is very privileged, not like in the sense of I have I come from a wealthy family, but like especially when I got to college and you really recognize the spectrum that exists and of like, oh, I've never had to worry where a meal was going to come from or being able to get new shoes for a school year. You recognize the privilege in really just in having your needs met and knowing that your needs will always be met. So when I say I come from a lot of privilege, that's what I mean, not an extremely wealthy background. Um, and also I'm very lucky in that both of my parents kind of came from a lower sort of background than I would have then gotten to be raised in, right? So they really instilled not necessarily frugality, but like this is something you're going to think about. And so when I was 5 years old, I had an allowance, right? I've had an allowance for my whole life, essentially. And, my parents really teaching me like, okay, you want to go buy that toy, it's fourth grade. You want to go buy that toy? You can borrow against your future allowance, but we're not going to just buy it for you. So I was making decisions and thinking about things and I'm really, really grateful for that. And, at the same time, maybe that led to, or maybe it's just the threes, I would have done it anyway. Um, I've really at sometimes like held on to a lot of money, where it's like, okay, it's like, no, I don't feel comfortable going and spending that because what if I need it later? What if I want it later? I'm not sure that that's worth it for me to spend it on. So where sometimes I'm a little bit too tight-fisted in a sense. And, with the eights, we talk about how they can sometimes like have like tattered clothes. I'm kind of like, no, I will keep wearing these clothes because I don't want to spend the money to buy what other ones. Like this still works when I have my jeans buttoned up, you don't see the holes in the shirt that's underneath. I'm like, I don't care. Like literally like 2 summers ago, I had these tank tops and I had her cut them and basically turn them into crop tops so that the part that had the holes got cut off. And I'm like, I'm still wearing this. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. And then I think because of that, and again, Libra as an energy and astrology kind of has this too. It's like you're really tight-fisted, but until you then maybe have foolish spending, it's sort of like once I've opened my hand, if you will, once I've gone into my wallet, now I've just spent $700 in a month because I didn't spend any money, the other 11 months out of the year. And it's like all of a sudden it's like, whoop, I went really overboard. So
Peaks and
finding that,
troughs.
yeah. So like finding that balance can be hard where it's like, on the one hand, I feel like I know the value of money. I can be very responsible, but almost like not allowing it to go out in these small increments and then being like, nope, 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 nope. And then like shell out, shell out, shell out.
Yeah, it definitely plays with the four energy as well. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
got fours.
I
Yeah.
do in talents. Yes.
Yeah, it's funny, like the three, I can definitely be like, oh my God, I've got money, spend it. And I remember Nicholas once saying, people who have threes, sometimes when they get money, they're like, quick, let's get rid of it as soon as possible because it feels more comfortable to be in a state of lack, feels
Oh,
more,
wow.
more. But again, I come from a very privileged background as well. I've been very, very fortunate, very loving, generous family. But yeah, financially, I've been self-employed, working for myself for the last 5 years. I've worked since I was 16, waitressing, part-time jobs. I'm always working hard. I'm not leaning back and being like, oh, someone help me out. But yeah, it's the beautiful thing about the threes. And I think you go through periods of your life where you come into the different energies of different numbers and the full force of them really hits you and starts working through you. I'm definitely in that phase of threes of learning, okay, how to budget. It sounds crazy. I'm 34. I should, oh, I hate that word. I should know how to really budget, but it's sometimes people learn things slower than others. I've learned other things a bit faster than other people. Not that it's a race, but we all have our strengths and our weaknesses. So learning the proper value of money and how to really look after it and to use it very wisely is a really beautiful lesson. And I'm not resisting it. I just know it's part of it.
Yeah.
But there have been some tight months where I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, can I pay my rent?
Well,
um,
here's what I want to ask you. That worthiness factor of the three that is tied to the money aspect. It's like, have you at any point in your life, and I know even though I have in my talents, I have felt this where either you don't feel worthy enough to ask for your services, what you really feel you should earn for that time that you give. Also, I have seen it show up where people who work in corporate, like a corporate job or are working for someone else, they have trouble asking for the raise they feel they deserve or for the salary they feel like they deserve. And that is part of that worthiness. And it's like, if you don't ask for it, they're not going to give it to you, right? No one's going to
Mhm.
voluntarily just give you extra money. But if you truly feel you're coming from a very ethical, like fulfilling place where you're like, I know my worth and this is the number value of my worth, it's about coming in and saying, I may turn people away and I may get rejected, but someone is going to give me this because this is energetically with like full heart what I believe I'm worth. And then you start seeing that come in. So have you ever been in a position where you're like, I'm underpaid, overworked and underpaid kind of thing because of that 3 energy?
Yeah, my whole 20s, actually. I worked for a particular company, and my salary did increase while I was there, but I kind of did everything. I overgave. I had a massive lack of boundaries and massive need to please. I didn't want to make people feel uncomfortable, which is a very big driver in me. And I find it very hard to assert myself because I have 4 5s in my physical karma. So standing up for myself, knowing my worth, and feeling okay with it being uncomfortable are massive challenges for me with the 5s, 3s, and 8s. I now feel like I charge what I'm worth. But I still know there's a lot more to learn. And I know if I'm not getting clients booking in, I know that there's an emotional program that needs a layer of clearing. And the past year has been clearing after clearing after clearing. And as I've done that, my prices have gone up and up and up, which feels really, really good because this is lovely level of knowing your worth. And but then I have these 9s where I have this fear of taking advantage of people. And the 9s are all about this abuse of power. So I'm juggling that kind of energy, which is my spiritual goal and in physical goal in my common name, with knowing my worthiness as well. And this empathy of 8s, like, oh, I don't want to make other people uncomfortable. I need to empathize with where they are in their life. The self-worth piece is a massive thing I'm still working on. I think it will be my whole entire life. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there. And really, if you're conscious of it and if you're working through it with gentleness and grace, I think that's an okay place to be. I think you're doing very well. So I'm proud of myself, that I'm
Oh yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. Listen,
But
you're never going to be at that like pinnacle where you're like, oh, the work is done. I'm forever worthy. Never.
never,
And just when you
never.
think you are, something happens that kind of like kicks you back and you're like, oh, okay, wait, I do need to keep investing in this. And it's your self-worth, the work, your self-care is the number one thing that you will forever do and should be the number one important thing. But it is hard, especially with those aids, or it's hard to put ourselves first before others, but that
Mm,
is what you have to do, and not in an egomaniac way, not in a selfish way or hurtful way, but you have to prioritize yourself because no one else will do it for you. And then the
yes.
whole like charging thing, I remember Nicholas saying, okay, if you when you provide a service and you say I'm charging X amount of money for the service, if when you give the service and you feel good about it, it's a beautiful exchange of energy. When you feel like you got away with something, you overcharged for that service. When you feel depleted after that service, you undercharged. So I'm always very conscious of that when I am booking a reading or divine healing or whatever. And I'm like, how do I feel after? Because
Mm,
I too, like my 5s, I feel other people's energy and I want them to get exactly what I feel I put out. Just this beautiful balance and beautiful exchange from one higher self to the other. You want them to feel that. So I always use that barometer to go, okay, we're good. We're good. At least for now,
yes,
we're good.
yeah. It's such a good way of doing it. It's really, really the best way. Yeah, and working for yourself is such a big learning curve anyway. I used to give people so much of my time back when I was training, when I was a kinesiologist. I still do kinesiology sessions, but I'd be over 2 hours in a session, and I'm like, that is exhausting. It's very physical, demanding therapy. You have to think very hard. You have to always, you're muscle testing, you're doing all these different things, and then giving people big follow-ups and stuff. And I'm like, that's one of the things actually I've learned a lot is lean back a little bit, give what you can give. You don't need to overgive. And this is a really big thing because lots of people can't handle so much. When they're coming for a reading or a divine healing, it's a new thing for them. So you have to give what they can handle, because we could do readings for 4 hours. There's so much information and fun to be had in them, but we have to sort of dial it back to our level of energy that's appropriate as well, and not overgive.
Mm-hmm. And a huge factor of the 12-3 is they become fanatical about something that like strikes a chord, and they're like, oh my God, I need to know everything and anything about this thing. And it's like, I actually have a client who did soul contract reading, and he immediately booked the relationship reading and all this divine healing. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But because I sensed he had so much 12-3 energy, he actually had his entire physical chart, you guys, was 12-3, 12-3, 12-3, 12-3. And his
Wow.
spiritual goals was 12-3. Okay.
Wow.
So
That's a lot.
I spent a
Mm.
lot of time making sure he understood, I love that you want to work on your spiritual journey and you're on it and you want to learn and you want to grow and you want to heal. And that's fantastic. You should always strive to do that. But make sure you find that balance in your life, because if you become too fanatical about something, we know this with that 12-3 energy, that balance in your life falls off, and then you can burn out, and it's almost like things kind of implode and you have to like start from scratch. Okay, I got to rebalance my life. And it's like, when you have, I mean, you guys, I've never seen so much 12-3 energy. I was like, oh my God, what do I do with this?
Mm.
And it was like so important to explain that fanatical aspect of it. It's great to learn. It's great to want to engage and grow. Just find that balance, because we are still humans having this human experience, and you still have to live your everyday life. So yeah, that balance is just so important to not burn out and not fall into that fanatical trap, if you will.
Mm.
And, to that point, it's one of those things that this to me is so key about the 12-3 energy. And I can't believe it's taken us this long to mention it, is that the 12 is the forever student. Part of that expansion, it's expansion of love, it's expansion of knowledge. They are the forever student. And this is one of those first aspects that so resonated with me for this number, and that I can so easily spot in someone else when they talk about a love for learning. They're always wanting to learn. I'm like, you have a 12-3. And if I already know what their chart is, I'm like, that's a prime example of your 12-3. And this is, again, one of the beautiful aspects that makes me love the 12-3 energy so much. We've already mentioned that the 3 is the teaching from the soul energy. And so when you pair this forever student with a powerful teaching energy, it is that student that, I mean, it is that teacher that doesn't assume they know it all. They are themselves on a journey of forever learning, and what they learn, they will continue to teach and to share, which is one of the things I think makes this number so beautiful, and one of the reasons I love to have it, one of the reasons I love people who have this in their chart as well, because we get each other. We're all about that learning for the sake of learning. Oh, you found this cool video, thank you so much for sharing. I also loved this was great to learn, let's talk about it. What did you learn from this, right? Like, let's teach each
Mm.
other. It's so beautiful. And again, as we mentioned at the beginning, you just want to be careful to not burn out, or as Yiannah is talking about, to get to this point of fanaticism, kind of like going down the rabbit hole, and you're so far in, you didn't even realize you kind of like crossed that threshold at all. It's like, whoa, we're already halfway down before we know that we even like started on that path.
Oh my God, I fall down the rabbit hole so often. Not so much now. I don't get so fanatical about bigger things. It's more like the little things. I might be like, I have a project and I need to do it. And I need to do it now. And I will literally not stop until it's done. And then at the end of that project, I'll feel freaking exhausted. Like, I did a new lead magnet on my website, which is like how to discover which fear saboteur you are. And I was passionate about it. I was excited about it. I was like, I've got to get it, and I've got to get it right, and I've got to get it right now. And it's like I could not slow down. I could not rest. I just had to complete it. So that fanaticism, I think, can come in all these different little levels. And some people might think, oh, it's a little OCD, like you have to like, it has to be, or maybe ADHD, it has to
Yeah.
be a certain way, or I have to focus on it intensely. Sometimes it's just the 12-3 energy, just being like, I'm pretty pretty intense about this.
Yeah.
I've got a 14-5 as well, so I can be a little intense about things anyway.
I definitely associate that with some ADHD as someone who doesn't have a diagnosis, but does associate with having ADHD myself. And also having a 15-6 in my chart, I feel like the 6 is one that I hugely relate with that. And again, it's kind of the same. It's that sense of hyperfixation, right? And I think that's the part of that energy where, they overlap, is that hyperfixation. And for me, I'm the same way. Like, this is something I know about myself, and like, I'm also a Cancer rising, right? The moon is my chart ruler, and I get told this about, in human design and so many other areas. It's like, you're a very cyclical, you're not this. And even they talk about this with women with our hormones. Our hormones are not steady, on a 24-hour cycle like for men. We have this 28-day cycle. And so there's going to be times when you have more energy in the month. Like, there's going to be a week where that's higher, a week when that's lower. Like, anyway, the cycles. So I feel that way. Like, sometimes when I have a new idea, I will work 10 to 12 hours a day on it because it won't leave my brain. I couldn't not do it if I tried. I will try. It will take me 5 days to watch a movie because I can't get through 15 minutes before my need to work on this project and get this creativity out is over. And then I'll have a week where I probably can't manage to do more than 15 like minutes of work a day, and all I do is veg. Like, it's like
Yes, it's the imbalance, Lauren. It's the go hard at something and then, oh my God, I'm exhausted. I need to recover. Go
yeah.
hard, recover. This is the 12-3 in a nutshell.
But, I would also push back and say, why is that not balanced? Why do we say that's imbalanced? Because it doesn't fit in some narrative. If you look at a wider scale, within the month, you had a week of each. Why is that not seen as balance?
True,
This is the
true.
sort of part that I want to push back on sometimes and say, who is defining what balance is? I see the balance in that I knew that it would come for a week. It would take so much more effort for me to find within the day, have your balance. That is so out of alignment for me. I know what my alignment is. I'm going to work on it for a week straight. And there's going to be a week that I don't touch things at all. The difficulty is when you have to work with other people and they're trying to give you things in that week off. You need to set the boundary and say, I'll do that next week. That's a week when I'm working. This is a week when I'm resting.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I like to have balance because I think it balances me out. I think if I can, and I'm always striving for balance. Hey, it's my soul destiny. Like, I have a part-time job, I have client work, and then I have my own personal business. And then on top of all of that, we have our life to life admin. Like,
Yeah.
oh, when can I go to the gym? I need lots of grounding. I need to be out in nature all the time, like with my 8s and 5s, and trying to fit everything in. But yeah, sometimes, Lauren, I agree. Like, sometimes we need to just go at something and be okay with knowing that, oh, once I've done that, I'm going to be pretty tired afterwards. But then that is the 3 of worthiness coming in and saying, hey, you've worked really, really hard. Let yourself rest. You are worthy of relaxing and resting because you've worked really hard. I was actually told by my business coach, Jenny, um, Anderson, she said, you have worked so hard. I want you to take 4 days off. And I was like, this was like on Thursday. She was like, just take Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. There's a bank holiday in the UK, which means we get a Friday and a Monday off. Because I'm self-employed, that doesn't really count. They
Right.
never have. It just goes straight over my head. I'm like, la, la, la. But I've actually forced myself, apart from like a few little odd things, like, don't work on my business. And I found it really hard. Like, I want to. And I'm tired because my body's like, oh, you're relaxing. You're not working hard. Let's hit you with some tiredness. Like, let's let's help you realize what's going on. So I'm like trying to force myself to like lean back a bit and come into more of a receptive, receiving. It's okay. It's safe for me to relax. I'm worthy of resting, which is what you said earlier, Yiannah, like the worthiness issue there.
Oh, yeah. I love it. You guys, this has been such a beautiful depiction of the 12-3 energy in kind of all of its facets. I feel like we embodied it for sure.
Yeah.
I have one final thought I want to share because, again, it's one of my favorite aspects of this number. Part of what makes it my favorite number is that the 12-3 is known for wearing rose-colored glasses. And Yiannah, you've talked a lot about the 5 being optimistic. I would gather to say the 12 might be even more optimistic or on par with the optimism of the 5 because they just see the world in this really rosy way. And that was another aspect that I initially, like from the onset, really could relate to with the 12-3 was that sense of I am the type of person who even in the hardest of situations, and it's not about toxic positivity, it's not about spiritual bypassing, it's not about ignoring the difficulty, but I will still find the silver lining. I will still recognize and say this is really hard, and I'm able to in this moment recognize what it's teaching me. And so the silver lining is I know what the lesson is, and now I can move forward knowing that this is hard, but this is what it's teaching me. Or sometimes reflecting back, maybe that you can't always do that in the moment. Sometimes it's too difficult in the moment to find that, but to look back pretty quickly, or maybe after some time, it does depend, and just to see, okay, I can see now what that was for. I can see now what came from that. And sometimes that's why you need time, because you didn't see it in the moment. All it was in the moment was difficult, but now you're 10 steps beyond and you see that you would not have ended up where you are now if you hadn't taken that step first. If you hadn't gone through that, there's no way for you to have ended up in the current position or for other opportunities to come into your life. That was almost like a prerequisite, if you will. And I'm someone that I can remember being in 8th grade. So I went to a private middle school because I have a learning disability, which when we get to the 11-2s, I'm going to talk about that more. But I was not happy about it. I fought my parents on it. I wanted just to go to the public school. And I can remember being in 8th grade and I just had this moment of like looking around and being like, hey, if I had, gotten my way, if I had gone to the other school, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have made these friends. I'd have different friends, but I wouldn't trade these friends for those potential other friends I would have had. So I'm really grateful, even though I didn't get what I wanted, that this is what happened. And I think that's a beautiful perspective for the 12-3 that they're able to bring on the world.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's the silver linings, and it's also seeing the beauty in things. Like,
Mhm.
I'm the type of person that will speak to flowers and smell flowers and
Me
touch leaves.
too.
I'm just
I
a big,
I kind of like
yeah.
high five the tree. I just kind of put a moment when I walk by and I'm like, hi.
Yes, and it's like, I rescued a tiny baby spider today. It was stuck in the sink and it was about the size of my fingernail. And I was like, we got to get you out of here and put you on a bush. Like, it's just like seeing the very soft vibrations of life and appreciating them and enjoying them deeply. Like seeing a color and it being in that color and being like, oh, what a beautiful color. So yes, it's seeing the vibe, seeing the silver linings of things. And I think almost seeing life quite rosily, like what a beautiful plant, what a gorgeous shade of turquoise. I love this color. Or, oh, I love that woman's hair. Like it's just seeing all these little joys, these little
Right.
things.
And with the 3 about sharing, it's when you have that thought, especially about another person, to share it. Like someone has said that, never keep a compliment unsaid. Like I really will be passing by someone in a crowd. I love your shoes. I love your shirt. I love your whatever. And, sometimes I've gotten those before where someone's like, your bag is fabulous. And it's just like, oh my God, thank you so much.
Pass the joy on. It's just
Yes.
so important. It just lifts someone's day as well. So it's such an important thing to do.
And
Mhm.
Antonia, especially your comments about nature remind me of this quote that I love by John Green in his book, The Fault in Our Stars, where he essentially says, or one of the characters is talking about how he feels that the universe is begging to be noticed. There are so
Mm,
many times I will lay in a field, I will look up at the treetops and just be like, universe, I see you. Right. I just take that time to just like
yes.
look and appreciate, especially in nature, and the nature being that representation of the universe, I think is so beautiful.
There's beauty everywhere, everywhere. We're so lucky. We're so abundant in it. Yeah, so true.
Yes. So I felt like that was so important as we've talked about some of the challenges that the 12-3 can face and can bring and can exhaust us with, that it also gives us such a beautiful outlook in the world. We do say in this work that from the lowest vibration, the
Yeah.
12-3 is capable of seeing beauty. And
Yes.
I wouldn't trade it. As much as they burn me out, I wouldn't trade it.
Me neither. And you know what? You come to an understanding of your numbers, appreciation, and a love for them. And even though we may optimize our names to bring new energies into our chart, we still, you have to be at peace with your numbers and work with them, not against them. And one of the lovely practitioners, Amanda Kanini Dyer, she once said, your numbers do not define you, they are here to guide you, which I think is beautiful. You have so much room to play within them and don't ever see them as a limitation.
Oh yeah. She will actually be joining us to talk about the 5-5, which
Yes.
and her perspective on things is like, keep talking, girl. Like, I just want to hear everything you have to say. But yeah, she totally embodies that. She's just, it's like the energy you get. When you feel that off of people, it's like you give this beautiful, loving, like that soft, feminine energy. You give that. So it's like you feel that energy. And yeah, she totally has that too. She's got
She's an
this.
expert at the
Oh
5.
my
She taught me everything
God.
I know about 5 energy from
I am
working with her.
so excited for that
Yeah.
conversation. And
Yeah.
Yiannah also mentioned another practitioner who she was mentioning doing divine healing with Lauren Calvert. She's going to be joining us for the 7-7. And both of those episodes are going to be coming up this month in May as well. So definitely keep an eye out. They're going to be coming soon.
Amazing
Yes.
numbers.
Yes.
Oh, I'll be listening in.
Yes. Now, Antonia, let our listeners know where they can find you.
Yeah, so it's just my website, antoniabeamish.com. And I run a program called Spread Your Wings, which is basically helping women come out of hiding, especially very sensitive souls, a bit like me, to overcome self-doubt and fear, which is a big thing within all of us, so they can tap into that hidden potential within them. And normally these sensitive souls have they have a wealth to give the world within them, but it's overcoming the lack of confidence and the fears to break through that, which we work on in divine healing, to really come out and shine their brilliance out into the world. So that's how I work with people at the moment. I do soul contract readings as well, but this is my joy because yeah, it's basically working through everything I worked through. So it's just my website. That's where people can find me.
Beautiful. Thank you. And what
And
we
I just
know.
want to say, though, also as someone who has done a divine healing session with Antonia, that she is so fabulous. And if you have loved listening to her voice on this podcast, you will love listening to it even more in a session with her. So just
Thank
as
you,
that
Lauren.
additional little additional plug for you, that was wonderful, and I loved that session we had together.
I'm so pleased. That was a joy for me as well. Such a joy. And thank you so much for having me, both of you. This has been such an awesome experience. I know we were having a lot of techie setup issues at the beginning, but
It happens.
yes, this was so much fun. So much fun. I can't wait to hear all the rest of the episodes. You guys are flying.
Thank
I love it.
you.
Well,
Thank
Antonia,
you.
obviously we will be having you back. It's just a
Please.
matter of when and not
Please.
if.
Amazing. I can't wait. You just let me know. I'll be free.
Absolutely. Well,
Beautiful.
everybody, thank you so much again for listening. Please go and let us know on Instagram your thoughts of this episode. Do you have a 12-3 in your chart? How does that show up for you? Are you burnt out? Are you tapped into your sexual, sensual energy? Let us know. And of course, as always, if you don't know what numbers are in your chart, head over to the ltbpodcast.com in order to request your free chart and find out.
And as always, everybody, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment on our content. It is the best way to support us, and we appreciate it so much. Have a beautiful, blessed day. Bye.
Bye.